Okay, welcome to the Vent Box with Keisha Jackson. Let it out, get it off your chest. Who are we talking to?
We're talking to MB.
Hey, MB, how are you?
I'm
From where?
Good. From the DMV.
Okay, MB from the DMV. Okay. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. What's on your mind? What makes you call the Vent Box?
So I wanted to call today because there's so much going on in the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a millennial, and this is I just graduated 2 years ago, and I'm sitting here and I'm at my first job, and I'm starting to, come in contact with all kinds of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I came in contact with what I like to call an Oreo.
Okay.
Yeah, so I came in contact with my first Oreo.
And explain to me what an Oreo is by your definition.
So by definition to me, an Oreo is a person, an African American, who is so far beyond their roots and their culture that, they have no connection with the outside. There's no connection.
Okay.
They're just so far left, it's crazy.
So you're saying basically they've forgotten where they've come from?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just dealing with that, it's so funny. I've worked with people, and they're the conversations we have, it's like polar opposites. It's so crazy. These people, their music choices are different. Which is fine. Everyone has different music choices, but I mean, if there should be at least something, some connection between us.
Some commonality between us, because are they the same age as you?
Yes.
Oh, so that's what makes it weird, because you think we're in the same peer group. So of course we can find something in common.
Right. Mm-hmm. But it's certain activities, we do totally different, they're not into rap, they're more into this kind of folk thing, they even their friends, they like to hang out with more white people, they don't really hang around black people. And I mean, that's fine. You can totally hang out with whoever you want to. That's fine. My thing is, you should still have some people in your corner so you can still realize who you are on a regular basis.
My question is, how were these people raised? You find that a lot with people that have been maybe adopted, or that maybe grew up in that type of community and that's all they know. You know what I'm saying? They definitely didn't grow up. And if you can't find any commonality in them, then 9 times out of 10, they didn't grow up in the same type of environment that you grew up in. So their roots, in terms of their adolescence and their upbringing is very different from yours. You know what I'm saying? So this person that you're talking about in particular, or people that you're talking about in particular, do you know anything about them? Their history or?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, they're full black. Both their parents are black. Mm-hmm. And they were raised in a military household. Mm-hmm. So I do understand that, they've kind of lived in different places, but I'm you're still at home with the same people.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I've had a chance to meet, their parents' things. I'm they're cool. Uh-huh. They get it. We can connect. But you, it's it's crazy. It's this crazy thing. It's who are you?
Yeah. I can see how that can happen too. It's funny that you, because for me, with my mom, and I don't know if you're familiar with who my mom is. My mom is Millie Jackson. So we were very black, honey. Black. Love blackity black. Okay. And very in your face, tell it like it is, loud, just the real, epitome and cliche of black in many ways. But, when my mother started to kind of rise in the music industry, she sent me to private school. I went to boarding school. And so I can see how that could happen, because I was surrounded by 90 to 95% people that did not look like me, behave like me, any of it. However, I never lost who I was, because the moment I go home on holiday, you snap right into it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when you ride a bike. You might be a little wobbly when you get back on it, but real quick, you snap back into reality. So that's a little surprising. I'm thinking that maybe as an Army brat, this person is just so far removed from his culture because he's been forced to adjust to so many different environments, and usually, obviously, not environments that include people really like him. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's probably so used to adapting.
Yeah.
That he's become that. You know what I mean?
It makes sense, but it's so funny because even though they're older than me by 2 years, but we attended the same university. Mm-hmm. And, it was a predominantly white institution, so, and going there. So, I had the same feel, so I was like, there's all these white people around me. I kind of don't know where to go, who to talk to, but I still knew who I was.
Of course.
I still found my group. I still found the people that I knew would have my back. I searched, for different organizations on campus and things like that. But I still had white friends and things. There was no problem. But it's just so funny seeing someone who totally took no advantage of those different.
It's almost like they prefer to be removed from themselves. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's, and it's hard. It's hard because in times like these, really volatile times, like our times for Black people really hasn't changed. It's just more in the spotlight and more, people are now seeing it and kind of forced to see it. And I think it's no coincidence that because of COVID, everyone has had to sit still and see what we've been trying to tell you guys for years, tell folks for years. But I think that a lot of times people just, I don't know. People like the bubble.
Right.
People like the bubble, and the bubble feels comfortable. But in times like this, I feel sorry for those people who were so comfortable living in their bubble that now they don't really know what hit them. They're blindsided. They don't know how to, because at the end of the day, your skin is still Black. Mm-hmm. And if no one knows your parents or know what neighborhood you grew up in or what school you went to, you are just a Black man, a young Black man or a young Black girl. And at the end of the day, if you don't know what that means,
it's scary.
It is.
It's scary because I look at it, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm a biracial male. Mm-hmm. And, one half is Black, one half is Latino. And I'm like, but I still know who I am.
Yes.
I still know who I was raised by. Mm-hmm. I still know that, I'm aware of that other half of me. Yes. I may not be as immersed in it, with language and things, but mm-hmm. but I know what half raised me.
Yes.
And I know what half I have a deeper connection with.
Yeah.
I know what half also has my back, no matter, it's something about, being with people of your kind who, will always have your back. That's just when you have friends who are either a mix of Black and white, and they can claim themselves as being white, but it's just you can walk into a room, they're not going to claim you the same way.
Correct.
As
Absolutely.
Black.
Absolutely.
That's where that line comes in, where you're just okay, you're just on this side. Okay, you can affiliate with that side, of course, but you have to realize that you are not a part of that side.
Exactly. And that's the part that I feel bad. I feel bad about, to a degree. Well, I feel bad if they're unknowing, if they really just don't know that they should expect this when they get a certain age. You will be treated a certain way based on the color of your skin. And we all know that it shouldn't be that way, but the reality is that's what it is. And so I do find myself sympathizing with those who have chosen to live in the bubble, and then suddenly reality smacks them in the face, because it's a harsh awakening. It's not something that, that would rip me apart to think that my reality, all of a sudden, it's kind of like finding out suddenly that your mother isn't your mother or your father isn't your father. You know what I mean? It's kind of wait a minute, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? It's easy to get blindsided because you've been living in a comfort zone that's really, that the comfort zone doesn't belong to you. It's not yours. We've never been comfortable. as a people, we've never been, as a people in this country, like, for the last 400-500 years, we have not been in a place of comfort. We've always been in a place of dis-ease. You know what I'm saying?
I had to always look behind us, always check around, because, things, you're comfortable enough to do this and that, but you still can't.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing, like with me being in college at that predominantly white college, I knew that I could hang out with my friends and do places, but I knew I know that there were certain things that I just could not do, or that I should not even try.
That's right.
Because I know that if I do, I'm not going to get the same reaction that those people are going to get.
This is absolutely correct.
And that's why I always felt like I was on pins and needles at college, okay, I can hang out with them, but I can't just like run around campus drunk. I can't do that.
Yeah. And there's also a fear, like, these are my friends, but at the end of the day, there's a fear of being the scapegoat. I know I felt that way in school, in college, and I went to a predominantly white college as well. And there was a fear of, if we all get drunk and something crazy happens and I was in the room, will the finger automatically be pointed to me, like from an outsider? And how long will my white friends, fight on my behalf? You know what I'm saying? Because they're afraid. They don't want the blame. They don't want, you know what I'm saying? And I've known a situation where there was a young man that was a friend of my son's, and he was playing, his circle was predominantly white, and something crazy happened, and the parents were very adamant. No, it was not him. It was not this young man. But after a while, the white parents got tired of testifying and having to give their story. And they decided, I just want to be out of it. I already told them I didn't think it was blah, blah, blah. But they got tired of it and they didn't want to be connected with it anymore. And so this young Black boy was left out there on his own, and it's just like, well, we're trying to pray. Then they stop answering the phone as much. And it's like, no, we love you. We just don't want to be connected with all the controversy. But your kid was involved in it too. But because this kid, they felt like they did what they needed to do in the moment by saying, oh no, it wasn't him. We know him well. He's a very good friend of my son. But at the end, they just got tired of it. They weren't in the fight till the end. Why? Because they're not used to that. Like, we're used to it.
Exactly.
We're accustomed to it. Yeah.
And that's like, you kind of look at like the whole thing with like so many different, Black Lives Matter and all these different things, that stuff was trending so heavily. And then now, people are like, their timelines are starting to relax, people are starting back in their ways, you can only keep the momentum with people who are not you for so long.
Correct.
Because eventually that flame that they have with you, it's going to die out, because, they're like, okay, well, I love you guys. I'm going to be there for you. But, it's time for me to move on to the next trend.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And it's frustrating. And I can't imagine, I've lived longer than you. So, after a while, you just get to a point where like, okay, oh, here we go. Oh, okay, it's time to strap up. Oh, okay, it's time to, okay, well, here we go. You know what I mean? We're kind of used to it, and it's a shame, because no one should ever get used to that, to the degree that we are as a people. But, for you, I think it's commendable that you recognize it. You recognize who you are, and that you recognize that there's still a lot of fight. There's still a lot of fight. We got a long way to go, but you can't save everyone along the way. And if a person doesn't know who they are, at some point, it's no longer your job to try and make them understand who they are and to try and save them from some circumstance that could happen later. Like, you can't save everybody. And so you can educate, only to a certain degree. And for those who are not willing to listen, you just have to move on, because there is somebody out there hungry to know and hungry for the information and willing to fight. And they have the same staying power and the same understanding and the same pride that you have. that's who you need in your corner. You really can't, unfortunately, we can't afford to have the wishy-washy. Yeah, but, well, these are because that person hasn't really been tested yet to really understand where you're coming from. So at some point you got to leave people behind,
Yeah.
But I tell you what, as a millennial, hearing from you and knowing that you're a millennial, I know people blanket, they say blanketed things about millennials, and it always pisses me off, like really a lot. It's almost like you guys are not even here. Like they're not trying to have a conversation. Oh, millennials. Oh, they think they've got it, so hard, and they're, either irresponsible or so relaxed. And I've always said that I think that's false. I think it's dangerous. And I think that, first of all, it's the millennials that got President Obama in office. First of all, let's be clear about that. Because the old heads are stuck, and the next generation above them are even more stuck. And it's a conditioning that happens. And I think that you guys are breaking a cycle that's very important to break. And I think it's commendable that you recognize who you are, that especially in the movement, like it's really important, even if you're not hella active in the movement, but to know who you are is a movement in itself, because so many of us don't.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that the people that hear this or watch this really regain faith in millennials, because I don't understand what the problem was in the first place. I'm constantly cussing out folks online. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, there's people in every generation that were absolutely lazy, that were entitled, and I'm like, what happens is that people get older and people get selective amnesia.
Right.
They don't, you don't remember what you did. It takes somebody from college or high school to be like, you don't remember what, you know what I mean? Or somebody to pull a picture out from back in the day, like, is this you? And sometimes you got to do that to bring people back to earth. But I really commend you, and thank you so much for calling me, because I think this is something people need to hear, but you can't save everyone. You can't.
And one last thing one thing that I've learned is, I heard someone describe the situation like this. So, if you think about it like the church, where, the youth are needed for growth. Mm-hmm. And the elders are needed for stability.
Yes, that's good.
And
that's good.
If you cannot, create or forge a relationship between both, then the church will never work.
Correct. And that's why a lot of it is, the church is real compromised right now. And that's why you got a lot of people that just don't believe in the church. You know what I'm saying? People are kind of raising their eyebrows like, I don't know. Because what was working for my mama ain't working for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, it's actually, say that again. The youth are needed for growth and the elders are needed for stability.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, MB. So know that I may not always quote you when I say it, because I'm going to say it. If you see it online, be like, ma'am, I told you that. But I'm definitely going to use that, because I feel like people need to hear that little nugget, Mm-hmm. I thank you for calling, MB.
I thank you for having me. From
the DMV.
Yeah.
How y'all doing up there, though?
We're hanging in there.
Okay.
The M is good, the V is good, the D is iffy.
Right. Okay. Which is fine.
The D is iffy.
Yeah.
Lord knows.
Well,
but we're hanging in there.
How are people on voting up there?
Just from my own interactions with my friends and people around me, everyone is out there voting early.
Great.
We're really hitting the pavement, filling up the boxes.
Good.
If anyone asks me, I'm telling you, I said, hey, if you're going to mail in vote, I said, take it to that drop
Please.
box. I said, do not put it in the mail, in your mailbox. Don't trust the system right now. Too much is
you can't. It's just a lot. It's a lot. It's too much. So just try and yeah, you got to try and figure out which is the best way. People, we just need to think a little harder, like take an extra step than you normally would and say, okay, which is the best way for me, to do this? Which is the better guarantee? You know what I'm saying? There are no guarantees because all of it could be rigged. I mean, who knows? I have so many trust issues these days. But yeah, take it with you. Please don't put it in that mailbox. Please don't, because you don't know where those boxes. You just don't know. You just don't know. But again, MB, I thank you for calling me.
You're welcome.
Okay, good. Good to hear from you. And yeah, you bring a lot of hope. I never lost hope in millennials, but a lot of people have, and I hope this changes their mind because, well, people are silly anyway. But anyway, thanks for calling Event Box, love.
Thanks again.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.